Hey guys, so I back a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, and I wanted to tell you about some of the stuff that I've kickstarted. It's all coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and I've actually backed quite a few Kickstarter projects, and a lot of them are different, mostly board games, especially in the past year. In the past, I backed a lot of musicians. I was interviewing musicians for my other YouTube channel, and it was kind of a nice way to sort of support them and say, hey, I support what you're doing and the creativity. I know it costs money to put these albums together. Plus, it was kind of it was a neat way to kind of like, before Patreon was around, to sort of support an artist that you liked. Nowadays, there's a whole lot of mechanisms for doing the same thing. But what's great about Kickstarter is it can actually launch an entire product. And there are lots of cool stuff on there aside from board games. But very recently, it seems like board games have really come into their own on Kickstarter. There are new board games up almost every single day. And there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. There's a lot of people that have had good experiences and bad experiences, myself included. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about a little bit about what I've backed and why, and maybe give you a little preview of what's to come as other things come in this year. Now, why would you back a Kickstarter project? Well, there's all kinds of reasons. I'm definitely guilty of being a cult of the new person. I really like new products, and I love to explore new systems and new ways of doing things. And Kickstarter really is the bleeding edge for new products that are being developed. That being said, you do have to be a little careful, a little vigilant, do some homework when you back a Kickstarter. Some of these games can get into, the multiple hundreds of dollars. Others are very inexpensive and fairly cheap, inexpensive little games that are fun to get here and there. But especially where board games are concerned, I think it's real important that you kind of look at their last project. If they don't announce that this is my first project or something like that, be sure to check out their last project and just read the comments. Now, you have to back something to actually leave a comment, but you can read comments at any time. That seems to be one of the best sources for, how the community is currently feeling about that particular campaign. If they're not delivering or something isn't going on, there'll be multiple complaints. Now, there's always somebody that's unsatisfied or something went wrong and it didn't work out. Those things happen, and there'll be a comment here or there on different things, but if you see just an overwhelming majority of people having just terrible issues on the last campaign, well, then you can't really expect a lot from the current campaign. Not every game, of course, that's a hit has come through Kickstarter, but plenty have. Scythe is a great example. That was a Kickstarter game with lots of extra stuff, but even after, when it came out on retail, it's still going strong. Well, let's get on a little bit into stuff that I've backed and why. So last year, I received Heavy Hitters. This is an absolutely enormous game, and I actually have a video where I talk a little bit more about it. This game is really remarkable, and it's one of those things where I backed it. Up until then, I'd never backed a board game. This was my first board game. Getting this game really sort of reignited that part of my brain that's just really jazzed to play a board game. It had a whole lot of content. It was a whole lot of fun to play, fairly easy. It didn't have the learning curve that Warhammer 40K or a lot of miniature-based games have. And overall, it was a lot of fun. Now, if I'm just picking things in order, the next thing I backed, of course, was Nemesis. Now, Nemesis is a game that did really well, and I've got a video planned for this. It's maybe a little different than the other videos that I've seen for it. So this is one you can look forward to later. It's a really fun game. The super short review is, I wasn't super happy with the miniatures. Like, I like the aliens. I think they're great. I didn't like the people that came in it. But I've got an idea for that, and that's going to be in an upcoming video. Overall, though, gameplay-wise, I thought it was a lot of fun. It might be a bit random for some of you. Might be too random for some of you. But I thought it had a really fun and unique narrative to it. And it really meshed perfectly with the theme. The artwork for it, of course, is just gorgeous. And I was super excited. Super excited. I watched both the ships that were carrying these games come in and then go into port and everything. I'm super excited to receive this game, and I can't say enough about it. I haven't played it enough to give it a real objective review, but in the short term, Nemesis has been a lot of fun. Okay, the next thing I backed, it actually isn't up here for some reason, but it's a tiny wooden dice tower. And that came in like a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks. Is the fastest Kickstarter I've ever received. The next game I picked up was Mysteria, which is a really cool miniatures game. That one is on a boat headed this way, and I'm going to have that painted up and on this channel as soon as I can. I backed the YouTube channel Man vs. Meeple that I like a lot. I got a game called Dragon Keepers. It hasn't come in yet, and I'm looking forward to getting that. I backed No Pun Intended, the YouTube channel No Pun Intended. I backed a game called The Awful Orphanage. Again, that one's on a boat, and it's headed this way. It's got some neat miniatures in it. There's kind of a theme with me with these things. If the miniatures are really cool and it has kind of an interesting game mechanic, that instantly reels me in. If there's a giant monster or a giant robot, doubly so. Yeah, but The Awful Orphanage, that's coming in soon. Zombicide Invader, of course. You know, it's sci-fi, tons of crazy characters. That'll be coming before long. Modular Magnetic Wargaming Tabletop Buildings. This guy made these it's kind of like these little apple crate things with magnets on them, and you can put building tiles on them and change them around. I got one. I just got kind of a small investment there, but you'll see that when it comes in. Another game called The Faceless. This one utilizes magnets and a compass to kind of move characters around. Again, really kind of oddball, sort of chibi, like maybe dark chibi characters maybe. So they looked really interesting. I'm excited to paint those, and that'll be coming before long. The next one I backed after that was Fire Tower, and I've just done a review for this. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. And it is a great little game. Spoilers, I enjoyed this one a lot. The next game I backed after that was Hellboy, and that one's due to be delivered like in a month or so, and I've seen some unboxings. Mantic did an unboxing of the core pledge, and oh my gosh, it looks so exciting. I cannot wait to get that one. The next game I got was a little tiny pocket game. It was very inexpensive, and it's called Sprawlopolis. And as you can see, it comes in these, like, if you remember those little business card holders, it basically comes with these cards, and it fits in one of those. You can put this in your pocket, and it's a cool little city building game with different objectives and things to build different types of cities in different ways. This is a lot of fun. I've only played it just a few times. My wife and I like to take this out to a restaurant or something and kind of plop it down. But it is a neat little game, especially for a really small price tag. The next thing I got was some Tinker Metal Meeples, which are these guys down here. They were just fun little metal meeples. They're sort of steampunk themed. I think one's like a dude with a jetpack, and the other one's like a steampunk captain or some sort. And I just got the little 8-packs, and it's all the different colors of the 8-pack. And while I was there, I bought some stuff, I think, from one of their previous campaigns, which is basically kind of a steampunk D6 and this little metal coin. The next thing I backed after that was this game. Again, a very inexpensive little game. It's called Azimuth, and I have not done a review on this yet, but it is a cool little game. What's funny is I'm really into tiny things, so I have a special love in my heart for these board games with like it's got such a small, look at this. It's a nice quality board, but look how small it is. Kind of like Ticket to Ride New York small. It's a tiny little board and a fun little game. This didn't get overly funded. It didn't get a lot of money, but it did do well enough to actually get produced, and I was happy to be a part of it. Holly and I have played it 3 or 4 times, and it is a fun little game. It's really simple. I kind of wish they'd been better funded, so maybe they could do a little bit more with some of the components, but overall, I thought it was a really, really fun little game, and we've had fun playing it. See, after that, I backed Wargamer Girl, another YouTuber, another gaming YouTuber. Backed her on here. The next thing I got was kind of interesting. It's called Zen Bins, and you'll probably see these in a lot of my other videos because I've been slowly putting them into other components. But they have a bin that this is like for tokens, of course, and they're just like these little clear plastic bins that do snap together, and they'll hold stuff really well. And they have these for cards too. They have them for all different sizes. You can put sleeved cards in here, I believe. And they're made so that, you know, when you pull the card out, they easily come out. This is a great little accessory. You can actually buy these on Miniatures Market. I bought extra ones of these token trays because I thought they were so handy. But these are a great way to sort of bling up a card game or a game that has a lot of different cards. Maybe you want to separate and then automatically, you know, have a place to put them. You know, you got a draw pile and a discard pile, and when you're done, boom, you're all set to go. Yeah, Zen Bins. These have been a lot of fun. Next up, we've got Solomon Kane. That was probably the most expensive thing that I backed, and that's saying something because Hellboy wasn't cheap either. It may be the most expensive. There's another one that might have been more than that. But Solomon Kane's coming next year. Then we got Getaway Driver. Getaway Driver is a cool little, like a tile laying game that's going to be coming soon. Gravity Warfare is a dexterity game where you're trying to balance things on a space station that spins around. Another one that looks really fun. That's coming soon. Tang Garden. Tang Garden would be really difficult to describe. But basically you're building this nice Zen garden, and it's got all these miniatures, of course, characters that you put on there, and actually the direction that they're facing can score you points depending on the components that are included in your design. Then we've got Cthulhu, Death May Die. And yes, I did go in on the big statue. I won't be getting mine till 2020, so hopefully the channel's around that long. I'm definitely looking forward to that. The next thing I got were these Infinity D4s, and this is a really cool set of D4s. I've never seen anything quite like the shape. The shape of them is really interesting. They're metallic, they're heavy, they feel really satisfying in your hand. Really cool dice. I'm kind of a sucker for dice. Next we got Tiny Epic Mechs. I've become a huge fan of the Tiny Epic games. I really love Tiny Epic Galaxies. The other Tiny Epic games are growing on me. I haven't gotten to play them quite enough, but I've been really enjoying them. So when Tiny Epic Mechs came out, it was a no-brainer for me to just pick that up. So this is an interesting one. It's called a Basis, and what it is it's sort of this little purple square brick. And what you can do is take green stuff. So if you're doing miniatures and you want to put a really nice base on it, you can take green stuff and use this thing, that purple brick, as a mold. And it's got like some cobblestone. They had lots and lots of different selections. To tell you the truth, it was a pretty expensive product, and I was really on the fence. I only got one. And I received it about halfway through my Blackstone Fortress paint jobs that I was doing, so I didn't get to include that on all of those, but I did get to include it on like all the heroes and like the big bads and stuff like that. But it made some pretty interesting bases. I'm kind of glad I didn't go all in and invest a whole lot of money in it, because it was a little fiddly and it wasn't the easiest thing to use, but it definitely added a lot of interest without a tremendous amount of effort to my bases, and I thought that was a cool investment. The next thing I got was Volleyfron, which is basically, it's a game in itself that comes with this dragon miniature, but it's also an expansion to Mysteria, which you'll remember from way back in the beginning of this discussion. So it'll be able to be used in Mysteria. Of course, I don't have Mysteria yet, so hopefully I like it because I've already got the first expansion for it. The next thing I got was Catacombs 3rd Edition. Catacombs is it's a flick game, it's a dexterity game, and they've added some neoprene mats to this version, and it looked really fun. I saw the Shut Up Sit Down review for Catacombs, and it made me really want it, so when I saw this come up on Kickstarter with neoprene mats, another weakness of mine, I knew I had to have it, so that's coming soon. The next we have Zuography. It's a tile-laying zoo building game that kind of reminded me a lot of Carcassonne. Next we've got Reichbusters. And of course, this is made by the same people that did Solomon Kane. The miniatures look amazing. Oh, and when I was at Gen Con, I got to see the miniatures for this and Solomon Kane. I was extremely impressed. Like, I was very, very excited about them then. So when that Kickstarter came up, I jumped on it. Neoprene playmats for board games and war games. I got some playmats. I've got like a board game one, and I've got some war game ones to fit on my other table. Those should be coming actually in the next month or so. They're shipping really super fast. Next we got the Ancient Dragon dice set, which is just barely funded, but I thought it looked really interesting. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Next we've got the Hobby Holder, which is something to put your miniatures on so you don't have to hold them in your hand while you're painting them. Give you a little bit more flexibility in how you hold them. I already had the Hobby Holder. I bought it the normal way you would buy it. So when I saw this come up on Kickstarter, I noticed that they had added some other features and some new versions. So I got myself a second one along with some of the new things that he has on this Kickstarter. The next thing I backed was Folded Space, which is an insert for Carcassonne that'll hold a whole lot of the expansions for Carcassonne. So that should be pretty neat. The next thing I backed was reversible neoprene mats, which is it's going to be like a Star Wars X-Wing side, and then you flip it over the other side, and they've got, I think they had like a winter one and a desert. And next I backed the latest version of Suro, Phoenix Rising. I loved the original version, and I've been wanting to play Suro of the Seas, so I decided just to jump in on this. It looks really beautiful. I'm kind of taking a break because, as you see, I've been very active in Kickstarter, but I'm sort of taking a break. And that looked like a really fun game, so I got it. Then we've got the Dice Tower. I contributed to their campaign. As you'll see, I like to fund other YouTubers doing stuff I'd like to do. I don't know. It's sort of a karma thing for me. So, but the Dice Tower guys are great guys, and they have some cool stuff that you can get for backing them. So I did it. The last thing I got in here, I'm not sure it's going to fund, but it's called Inso, and it's like a koi board game for koi fish. If you know me, you know I'm a huge fish enthusiast. These are two of like the 12 aquariums in my house. I'm a huge fish enthusiast, so I thought it would be a really nice pairing to have a nice fish board game. But that's it. Just a couple of things from Kickstarter. There'll be more stuff on the way. I wanted to make sure I had plenty to talk to you guys about this year, and lots of painting projects and other stuff. So I'm going to let you go with that, but I'll be back real soon with more great stuff. Until then, see you later. Bye-bye.
Wow. Right. So you have failed. He has risen. You're fighting his minions at his feet as he walks over you. All right. Mind you, this is 28mm scale, so you're a toe. All right. And so yeah, this is what backers will be getting. This is your game board for that scenario. So super cool.